Shalom Aleichem, this is Rabbi Kovacs, and Mishnah Yomi continues. This is the Mishnayot pre-recorded for Yom Kippur. We are in chapter 3 of Megillah at Mishnah Vav. Now, yesterday we actually mentioned the special Torah reading maftir for Yom Kippur. Today we continue in that vein of special scriptural readings done on special occasions. B'Chanukah, during the days of Chanukah, Banasim, we read about the princes. This refers to the princes of the tribes, the presidents of their respective shvatim, bringing the inauguration offerings to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle. The amazing thing was they all brought the exact same offering. No one tried to one-up anyone else. And the pasuk refers to it as Zos Chanukas HaMizbeach. So it's called a Chanukat HaMizbeach, an inauguration, a dedication of the tabernacle of the Mishkan, so it's appropriate for Hanukkah. But Purim, on Purim we read Vayavo Amalek. We read from the Torah about when Amalek came. Again, Haman Harasha was a direct descendant of Amalek. And so the original anti-Semitism of Amalek is appropriate theme, appropriate learning for Purim. Roshei Chodeshim, on the new months. We read Roshei Chodshechem, on the first of your months. And this talks about the special Musaf offering brought on Rosh Chodesh. We actually start reading a little bit before that. If you'll recall, from Rosh Chodesh, we didn't read this on Rosh Hashanah because Rosh Hashanah superseded. But Rosh Chodesh Elul, we actually start by talking about the daily offerings, then the Shabbat offerings, and then the Rosh Chodesh offering as well. So we have a chance to call 4 people up from the Torah. But Ma'amadot, now Ma'amadot is the special shifts. Now recall the Kohanim and Levim, we talked about this in Masechet Tanit. In Tanit, the Kohanim and Levim are divided up into shifts, serving 1 week at a time in the temple. But the Jews also, the regular Yisraelim, are also divided into shifts to be representatives of the people. And during their shift, whether they're in Yerushalayim or out, they would fast during the daytime, Monday through Thursday, and special Torah readings, B'Maaseh Bereshit, in the first chapter of Genesis. Bataniot, on fast days, brachot v'klalot. We read from the curses and blessings of Bechukotai. Now, this was done on fast days that we discussed in Maseches Tainit about rain or about problems, dangers to the community. The fast days we have now, we read Vayachal Moshe about Moshe Rabbeinu requesting forgiveness from Hashem after Egel Zahav. And the Mishnah explains, Ein mafsikin b'klalot. We don't divide up during the middle of curses. Ela echad kori et kulan. We want one person to read the whole thing. So one man is going to go up to have an aliyah and read the whole thing. Typically, we want to start actually a little before the curses start, so the blessing on the Torah is not made, directly on a verse with a negative connotation. B'sheni v'chamishi, on Mondays and Thursdays, uva Shabbos, and on Shabbos day itself, b'mincha, during the afternoon, korin kisidron. We read that week's sidra, that week's coming Torah portion. We start it. Ve'ein olein lahen min hacheshbon, and whatever we read on Monday, Thursday, and the previous Shabbos afternoon doesn't count for the obligation to read the parsha on Shabbos day itself. We're going to have to start back from the beginning. Shenemar, and there's a pasuk that is a source for this custom. Vaydaber Moshe et moadei Hashem el bnei Yisrael. Hashem commanded us in the many holidays and aspects of the calendar, and Moshe taught Am Yisrael when it was coming up. So the Mishnah says mitzvoton, the mitzvah to read the scriptural passages related to the event, sheyukarin kol echad ve'echad bizmano, to read it in the right time. So the passages in the Bible that teach us about a holiday should be read on or right before that holiday, as we discussed about the special parshiot, reading shkalim when it's time to give the shkalim, reading paradumo when it's time to get tahor for Pesach. Mazel tov, let's go on to chapter 4. Hakuri et Megillah omed v'yoshev. If you're reading the Megillah, you can be standing or sitting. Kara echad, karu shnayim yatsu. If one person read it or 2 people read it, even at the same time, that works. The people who are listening are yotze. Now, this is, even though normally it's hard to pay attention to 2 people at the same time, even if they're both reading the same thing, it's difficult. But because the Megillah is chaviv, the Megillah is special, it's exciting, you bring the kids, they make noise, there's certain verses that we read as a community, we kind of recite all of them together, it's exciting, so people are going to pay attention even if you had 2 people reading at the same time. The Mishnah continues, Makom shenagu levorach yevorach, a place where the custom is to make a blessing, you make a blessing. Shlo levorach, lo levorach, where the custom is not to make a blessing on reading the Megillah, they don't make a blessing. Now, Bar Nora points out from the Gemara that this is only the blessing afterwards, haravet rivenu, etc. The blessing beforehand, it's a mitzvah, it's a rabbinical commandment to read the Megillah, so of course they would make the first bracha before reading. B'sheni v'chamishi, on Mondays and Thursdays, u'v'shavat b'mincha, and Shabbos afternoon, when we just mentioned, we read the Torah, the coming attractions, the preview of that week's Torah portion. Korin Shlosha, we have 3 people go up to have an aliyah from the Torah. In Pochatin, Ein Mosifin Alehem, we don't have less and we don't have more. In some shuls, you'll see the custom is they add on Shabbos day, during the morning, they'll add extra aliyot. If there's more mazel tovs, more simchas, somebody has family in town, they might add some extras. But we don't want to have tircha to tzibur. We don't want people waiting. People have to get to work. People have to do things. So we don't add more Mondays, Thursdays, and Shabbos afternoon. Ein maftirin b'navet, and we don't have a haftarah on those occasions. Hapoteach v'chachotim b'torah, mivorech lefaneha ul'acharecha. So the first one who goes up and the one who finishes, so the first aliyah and the third aliyah, they make the blessing before and the blessing after. So the original law was that you had 3 people going up to read from the Torah, Monday, Thursday, and Saturday afternoon. The first one would make the blessing before, and then he'd switch out. The second guy would read, and then the third guy would read and make the blessing after. Now, this changed. The Gemara explains our sages made a takana that every person would bless before and after their aliyah, their Torah reading. And the reason for this, the Gemara explains, is we don't want somebody who's leaving in the middle or coming in while they're laning, while they're reading the Torah, to think that Torah, you could have a Torah reading without blessings. So you can only imagine how many quote-unquote extra blessings have been made on the Torah over the last 2,000 years, just to show how beloved Hashem's word is to us, that we're going to make, that we enacted to make all of these blessings over the Torah, just so everyone will see that the Torah is a source of blessing and a source of life. And God willing, this Yom Kippur, we should all be sealed in the book of life. Yashar kochachem, sei gesund.